Hello, everybody. We are live tonight. We've got uh, Ben up on top right there next to me. I'm Dean. Brad's working out his audio issues and stuff, and he'll join us in just a second. But we didn't want to be late getting on to you guys because I was afraid if you came on live and looked at us, you would go away from us, and I don't want to lose any audience members tonight. So, Brad, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, good. We are live. We decided to go live and start at the top of the hour so that we could have all of our audience find us. So, guys, we're here to talk about yesterday's game. I'm sure we've got some varied opinions on some things, but let me just remind everybody that Cincy by Terry sponsors this show, and this is her link up there on the board. I will have it up there off and on, and feel free to comment tonight as you will. Comments are always welcome. Questions are always welcome, and you can actually call in if you want to call one of our cell phones, and we can just put it up to our microphones and on speakerphone, and we should be able to hear you just fine. So, okay, guys. All right. Well, let me start off first. Yesterday was kind of maddening. It was frustrating. I never thought the game was in doubt, even though, we were very frustrated. And the more the game went on, and I know that Spencer Petras has taken some heat, and he's going to take a little heat from me tonight. But that O-line, after watching it again, was not as good as I thought it was. I initially said in yesterday's podcast that I thought the O-line didn't play that bad. There had some instances where the O-line broke down, especially Colby, number 77, who completely was blocking air while people ran past him. And you can see that clearly on the film, that he goes and there's nobody there. And then by the time he realizes that he missed his block and he tries to get the right block, the person he's supposed to block is sacking the quarterback. So the offensive line is a piece of work. It needs, in my opinion, needs a little more work. I don't think this offensive line, judging by what I've seen on film, is even as good as last year's, and we know how bad last year's was. Spencer, though, he overthrew a lot of people, threw too high, threw in the ground. When he did find his open receivers, he was, in my opinion, he wasn't throwing it directly because I believe some of it he was under duress from the offensive line, and he was in a hurry to get it out, so he got excited and overthrows, throws it too high. These guys can't jump that high, apparently, in my personal opinion. And also, I think the other thing is when he missed wide open receivers several times, and he threw it into traffic, and one resulted in a pick, an interception. And so, honestly, and I think the best drive of the day that we had was the one that was fumbled by LaShawn Williams. That was probably our best drive of the entire day, and I think we did come away with 3 points on that drive. No, we did not, because we lost the ball. Sorry.
Right.
And so that's one we could have had a touchdown, an actual touchdown on. Guys, I don't know what you think, but I'm a little concerned going into Iowa State. I think the defense will do its job and hold Iowa State to not a whole lot of points. But I'm not sure that we can score enough points to beat Iowa State this week. And so right now I got like an 15-12, 15-9, 12-9 Iowa State victory for next week. And that's because of what I've seen this week, because I don't believe we can turn that offense around in 1 week. What do you guys think?
Brad, you go first this week.
Okay, fair enough. Well, thanks, Dean. Just a little backstory. Coincidentally, I actually didn't watch the game live. I happened to be in South Dakota, and I was with a good friend of mine, his anniversary, and my wife and I were out, and we went on a long hike in the Black Hills. And of course, I'm wearing an Iowa Hawkeye shirt as I'm going along, and I can't tell you how many people going by were wearing South Dakota State and everybody that I hear a few people say "Go Hawks," and then a few people say "Go Jacks," and so. But as I was, the reception wasn't great where we were, so I periodically get a. And by the way, I have my daughter just stepped in.
I love it.
Hi, we love that. We love that. It's live. It's live video for you, man.
So we were, yeah, there you go. The trials and tribulations of a live broadcast, right? So as we were walking along, I'd get periodic updates, and I'd get a lot of texts from buddies, Ben and his group, and a couple of others. And it is pretty. I got to tell you, it was really frustrating. Then I got down off the mountain and we watched it. It was so much more frustrating actually seeing it in person, or sort of in a telecast. So and then I watched it again today, and it was even more disappointing or frustrating the third time around. You touched on a lot of the big ones, obviously, Dean. The obvious ones are, Torrey Taylor, MVP, clearly. I mean, somebody was saying, let him drop back and punt the pass, or punt the ball to our receivers, and it'd probably be more accurate.
That was from Blair, I think.
Yeah. I think that is just classic. Our defense is legit. No surprise there. Our offensive line struggled. Of course, our quarterback struggles continue, and it's frankly more of what we've seen before. It's accuracy, it's receiver selection, it's just a lot of stuff. A couple of things that I think were maybe not quite as obvious. I wanted to say special teams were outstanding, but I really don't think our special teams were outstanding. Punt coverage was pretty good. Punt receiving was, it just kind of left us hanging. I mean, we got a couple decent returns. A couple times we let the ball drop on the 50, and we, I think Charlie Jones probably would have caught that and at least made something happen on those. Clearly, teams are going to line up against us in an odd front, and they're going to put a ton of pressure between the guards and make those guys make the right call. I think, candidly, and this is me being the eternal optimist, I think there are a lot of offensive line calls where the center and the quarterback weren't on the same page, and so he might move the pocket right into where our offensive line had some vulnerabilities because of the call. So I think some of that gets cleaned up. I'm hoping, because I think we have some pretty good athletes up there, and clearly Spencer knows the offense. And then just attack the edge once in a while. I mean, we get really predictable, and I think candidly, Kirk felt like this is an 8-5, Penn State, a few years ago. Just kind of hold on and figure out a way to get a W and get the heck out of there, because we were just going to struggle. But that's a lot of people hurt. First game. I'm not ready to throw in the towel yet, but it better be a whole lot better if we want to keep the streak going against Iowa State.
Yeah, I agree, Brett. To your point about the Penn State game, 6-4 safety, purposeful safety, purposeful safety. That game, that's exactly what this was. And I read an article today. I don't know if it was accurate or not, but I think it was. It's the first time that a team has ever won a football game with 7 points that didn't have a touchdown, because that score line went 3-3, 2-2, and then that's what it was. So no touchdowns, and so allegedly that's the first time that's ever happened. But I have never been the guy to bag in the quarterback ever, because it's a team game, and Spencer just didn't look good, man. He overthrew receivers. He didn't look good at all
and specifically on passes that a college quarterback, a high school quarterback, frankly, should make 98% of the time. On the drive where we got the field goal, the third and 5, perfect play call a little screen off to Williams off to the left. And if you look at that play, the camera sort of zoomed out. He was either going to score, or he was inside the 5. I mean, that thing was wide open. We caught him in a blitz from that side. And it wasn't like he just didn't lead him. I mean, he missed him by 3 yards, 4
Yeah.
yards, and it was mechanical. It just was awful. And there were multiple examples of that. You get a couple of those where we catch them, gambling on us, and we get a big play out of it. That changes everything. It loosens things up. But there's just no excuse. I mean, you just got to make that throw.
Yeah, he's 5 years in the program. Like, you got to
Yeah.
hit those kids. Like, you got to hit those outs. So, like,
Yeah.
that was bad news, I think. I don't want to, like, the O line was. I mean, I think it looks okay. Like, I mean, but it's hard to tell. Like, it's hard to tell when, like, you don't have Gavin Williams in there, or LaShawn Williams. You don't have Nico Regini. You don't have Keegan Johnson out there. So it's hard to tell, like, what was the, what was Spencer's fault, what was the O-line's fault, and what was just lack of personnel out there's fault, so to speak. So, Dean, what do you think?
There's no excuse, I'm afraid, for a five-year senior for missing as much as he did.
Yeah.
I understand that he needs to figure out how to find those open receivers. In all honesty, because that was a problem last year, and it's a problem this year already. In game one, I mean, you've got guys sitting there wide open, yelling for the ball, and he's thrown into traffic. And these guys, and most of the time, I think, how many times thrown into traffic like that did he come up with a catch? I think very rarely. I don't think there was hardly more than maybe one or two of those that were actually caught when he tried to thread the needle, and one of them was caught by the other team. And so it's ridiculous. This guy's a 5-year senior. I'm sorry, but unfortunately, listening to Kirk's going to continue. He has faith in him, which means he doesn't have faith in the other quarterbacks on the team. So if this guy gives us the best chance to win, I'm afraid that if he continues this pattern, we're not going to win a lot of games. I'll have to dial back my temperament and maybe think 6-6 season, because we're going to have to rely on Tory Taylor's foot and the defense to win these games for us and take whatever points we can get. This reminds me so much of the Northwestern problems last year of offense, with no offense. And I believe they the year before, I think it was 2019, they also had a lot of offensive problems, not scoring. This is where I see us, and hopefully we can win more games than Northwestern did with their offensive problems, because I don't think winning with defense and Tory Taylor's punting is sustainable. Not through all the games, because we've got Michigan's, we got Ohio State, we've got Wisconsin, we've got and of course Minnesota and Purdue are looking exceptionally good right now. And so even though Purdue lost their game, they still played a tough Penn State game and had that game won. So honestly, guys, I see a long season if we don't get this straightened out in a hurry. And as Jason pointed out in our video before, that you make your biggest improvements from week 1 to week 2. They better have that huge improvement for week 2, because right now I don't see us beating Iowa State unless a miracle happens. I don't see how we can.
I think we beat Iowa State. I like Kirk, obviously, and Brian. There's not. It was vanilla. I mean, again, we're missing our 2 top receivers. We're missing, a running back. Like, so that hurts. But that was a vanilla game plan from the get go. I think we beat Iowa State. As a matter of fact, I think we beat them handily. Honestly, I think we beat them by 20. Because that's just Iowa football and Kirk and how he does things. But you're right. Tony Taylor is a weapon. There is no doubt about that. Yeah. I mean, that guy, like, when there are punt coverage dudes catching the ball on the 1 and the 2, like catching the ball, like that's impressive. And our defense is a typical Phil Parker defense. It's stellar. And it's only a matter of time. Like, my brother texted me this yesterday. He's like, when does Phil just go shank Kirk? Like, at some point, like, when is he just like fucking done with this stuff? Like, and anyhow, but so I think we'll be okay. I think we'll win next week, and I think we'll win the non-con, and I think we'll go into Michigan game 4-0. But yeah, obviously Petrus is and the offense is there's no innovation. There was no innovation. Brad, to your point last time, you said like the most innovation is going to be we'll go on 2 instead of 3 or 1 instead of 2.
Yeah.
Where we said like there's no innovation. So
So you okay? Go ahead.
I'm with you. No innovation at all. I'm not surprised. Maybe there'll be a few wrinkles this week, but on the other hand, the bright side, right? If you told me Spencer plays that kind of a game and the offense looks that bad and we lose the turnover battle and we don't really get any big return yards on the return game, we still eked out of there with a win. So it's, win is a win. And Lord knows, go back to when we played UNI and blocked 2 field goals to end the game. I remember being at that game, leaving my seat saying, oh my gosh, it's going to be a long, kind of like I felt today after watching the game. Well, we were 9-0 that season,
And went to the Rose Bowl that year. So
yeah. So Kirk has a way of taking these really ugly losses and somehow bringing things back and getting it, back in line. And, we win the turnover battle there, get a, pick up a fumble, whatever it is, that game might look different. But boy, how would you like to be seeing South Dakota State? They got to feel like they really left an opportunity on the field. That long pass that was overthrown. They had every opportunity, and they shot themselves in the foot. And frankly, as bad as Spencer played, he outplayed the other guy and got the W. So
yeah, I was just going to say, Spencer was 11 for 25 for 109 yards, 1 interception. The other quarterback went 10 for 28 for 87 yards. He outplayed that quarterback. Yeah. So as bad as we were, Arlen Bruce was our top receiver with 5 receptions, and their top receiver also had 5 receptions, but Arlen had 68 yards to the 32 yards for their top receiver. And rushing yards, we won the rushing yard battle too.
So
we won almost every statistic.
We weren't playing our defense, but but that's a pretty good defense. That's not going to be the worst defense we see this year. Trust me. We'll see. That's a better defense than a number we'll see. It's not Michigan and it's not Ohio State, but it's a pretty decent defense.
I thought they were pretty solid too on their defense, and I posed this question on Facebook last night, and I took some heat for it, and I'm going to ask you guys what you think. I said, will we look back in a few weeks and saying that we just beat a pretty darn good team, and that was an anomaly, and that things look more normal, through the rest of the season? Is South Dakota State that good, even though they're not on our Power 5 Division I level? They're basically Division II. I'm sorry, I still got to call it Division I and Division II. I don't care what anybody says. I grew up that way. It's still that way.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a fantastic program. There's no doubt about that. And I think we talked about last week. There's a lot of Iowa kids, I think, on that team. Just like North Dakota when they played Nebraska, there was some kids that otherwise you'd get shot at Iowa or Nebraska or whatnot. And I think the linebacker might have been one of them. And Kirk even referenced it, I think, in his press conference.
Yeah. What did he say?
I said, I think Kirk referenced one of those Iowa kids that grew up like right around Iowa City.
Solon. Yeah,
the middle linebacker from Solon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, crap, yeah. And but so yeah, I think they're a good program, but I don't know. I don't even know what to say. But thank God for the defense, because the defense was obviously, again, a Phil Parker defense, and they kept us in that game. And I think they're going to keep us in a game, whether it's an FCS opponent, whether it's Alabama. I think that defense is you got, and we did that with Justin Jacobs. He got hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he had to go out of the game. So we did that with even minus one of our all Buckus linebackers, so to speak. And so, the defense is obviously very, very stellar, and special teams. We'll see what the kickers look like. The kicker looked like he had a lot of leg. That was problematic, I think. But go ahead.
He didn't have any leg. The kicker for them. I think
that's our kicker. Our kicker.
Oh, our kicker. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw that text I put up earlier from Jason, who said that he received a text that that South Dakota State had all 11 starters returning, I'm assuming, on defense, which is probably why they were so stout against us. I mean, I just didn't expect them to play that kind of a defense that tough on us.
Well, and I think I said last week before the game, I listened in on their coach's show pregame, and that guy was about as giddy as you're going to ever hear a head coach when he was talking about his defense. They had a couple guys that just were, just peaking at the right time, and so he was about as giddy as you're ever going to hear a coach that's been there for 20 some odd years. And then here's what, back to your question, Dean, on are we going to look back at this game? I don't know. I think that defense we were playing was a pretty good defense. It'll be better than a lot of the defenses we play. It depends on that quarterback. He was all NBC in the spring season of 2021 and got him to the championship, got hurt, didn't play in the fall. So he's a little rusty. I mean, he's a sophomore, so now people have a little tape on him. We'll see. We'll see if he can replicate what he did in 2021. If he does, that team's going to make a run in the FCS world, and it's not going to look as painful, maybe with a couple months down the pike.
There are people.
Go ahead.
And I was going to say, there are people who will tell you that we shouldn't ever lose or keep it close to an FCS team, even if they are ranked 1 or 2. I mean, we're still hurting from the North Dakota State loss a few years ago. And, there are people there that said we should have never lost that game either. Yep. So, and we struggled just as much on offense that game, because I was in the stands for that game. Yep. And we struggled just as much on offense that game as we did this one, except we were very fortunate to get at least a couple of scores in that game. Real scores by the offense. We didn't have to depend on sacks.
Well, remember in that game, we only rushed for like 30. I think it was 32 yards. I had it written down. We had, we had 87 yards rushing in that game. So about what we had. And remember, that team beat Michigan 12-10. So we'll see. We'll see what kind of development we get out of these guys. And I do think there's some correctable things on the offensive line after watching them. Seemed like we had a couple plays where offensive linemen were kind of going the wrong way. And that tells me that we got a new center. We got a new, we're making different calls, and maybe we got in the wrong alignment. And I think Kirk sort of alluded to it. He said they threw some things at him that they hadn't seen on tape. Now, a little frustrating. I would hope that, you had all summer to sort of work on, well, what do you do if somebody comes out and completely changes their game plan? But we'll see. I think Logan Jones, I made the prediction. You asked me for a breakout player last week. I said Logan Jones, the new center. He had some plays. I watched him pretty close. He had some plays where he looked really good, and he had some plays where he was swinging a miss. I think he's by all counts, people that know him that I know, he's a very smart kid, hardworking kid. He'll get that corrected, and I think I'm still standing by my breakout player of the year prediction with him. I think he's going to be outstanding, and we're gonna look back at this one and say, well, he got a master's degree in line calls here in one Saturday afternoon.
Yeah,
I like his moxie, by the way. He he's wearing 65. That's Lindenbaum's number.
Yep.
So he's got some moxie. I'll give him that. So
yeah. Well, what are your guys' opinion on our O-line coach? He's been there. This is his second year, and I read a lot of comments. Hawkeye fans going off the deep end saying that he needs to be fired. He's not getting the job done, and and that the reason all of our offensive line problems started last year, his first year of coaching. And so, you guys have any opinion on that? I mean, has he changed the offensive line that much that these guys don't get it? Or is it just because we're still young and he's just doing the best he can with the young players he's got?
I'll go. I think he's just like that's a young line, man. Like we got I think it's 4 sophomores that started on Saturday. And so they're young. They're gonna have their mishaps, whatnot. We do not have Tyler Linnebaum anymore to otherwise lead them. And Logan Jones, to his credit, he did a good job. Who's also a sophomore, as I understand it. And so like I don't think it was the line. Like I think we came out with a vanilla offense. I mean, extra vanilla offense, and then you couple that with not having 2 of your biggest weapons, your playmakers and receiver. You don't have your starting running back. You have a young line, all that stuff, and so like. I mean, it just makes sense that game was like non-Iowa people don't get it, but like it makes sense that game was maybe not 7 points, but but what it was,
I mean, we're forgetting that we had a sure touchdown coming up a yard away from the end zone that had we taken away from us on a fumble. So add another 7, it would have been 14, and we could have said the offense got us a touchdown, and we won 14-3, which looks more nice on the scoreboard on a ticker tape running across the bottom of ESPN or BTN.
But you're right. But it doesn't matter one bit in terms of the win-loss record, right? So,
right. Correct. Correct.
We got what we needed out of it, and
we got to win.
We had a couple of offensive linemen that were nicked up in camp, and so it's been and that happens a lot. I don't, I'll fault the coaching staff for being a little dogmatic in their approach. Like you aren't. Sometimes they aren't going to change things no matter what. All the evidence to suggest that they should. Kirk is not going to let a coach run the offensive line in a way that's not effective. I mean, I just don't believe that. I mean, he's more involved in that. So I'm not ready to throw the towel in on that group. I think it's young, as Ben was saying, and as you were saying, Dean. I think they're going to constantly improve. The comments coming out of Kirk early on were this line is better at this point this year than last year's was at the same point. So I'm willing to take his word for it. He's certainly earned some consideration in that. So I'm not ready to throw in the towel on him. If anything, it's more about scheme and I really don't think we attacked the edges like maybe we should have. To sort of make him pay a little bit for doing so many shooting so many gaps in the the guard center gaps, because I think they did that a lot and they guessed right. And we didn't make them pay for it. A couple times, you had the jet sweep to Arlen Bruce, went for 10, 12 yards. I think if we'd have put a little more pressure, we could have frozen some of those outside players and make sure they set an edge, and then, then sort of leverage off that. But we'll see. I think it'll be much improved week 1 to week 2. Yeah. I don't know if the accuracy from the quarterback will be improved. We've seen it too many times.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even when he has an easy throw, he just kind of lobbed it and he couldn't get it there. It's like when I saw that, I go, oh, okay, never mind. Jason put up this comment. It's basically similar to one I put up earlier, but this was the exact comment he's quoting from Facebook that I was asking about, and I forgot about the part about Budmeyer, or how do you say his Budmeyer, join the staff and be the QB coach. So, so what do you think about this? Should Brian Ferentz take over the O-line and Barnett be fired, and Budmeyer, who's on as a consultant, I guess?
No, I don't think we should panic. Like, honestly, let's just hold the course here.
Yeah, this is stuff to think about. This is stuff to think about if we go throughout the season and things don't improve and get worse. these are things that Kirk will have to think about later. But after one game, no, we're not there yet.
Yeah, no, this is Iowa football, man. Like we don't score points. Like that's how it works. Like we go play defense. We have Tony Taylor, who is a fucking All-American. Like I mean, amazing, and we do that. Like that's what Iowa football does. So no, there's no. Like I mean, it'd be silly to panic at this point. Like I am in probably the minority of Iowa fans that like. And I haven't even talked to Brad about this. I mean, we got a little group chat, but we haven't had a in-depth discussion on this yet. But I think we're okay. I think it was just vanilla offense, and the defense looks stellar, and the special teams look amazing. So let's go. I mean, that's as the kids say, LFG or whatever they say. Let's go, man. So,
well, we've seen it so many times, and I think the analogy is, Iowa drags you into a phone booth and it looks really ugly.
Yeah.
And guess what? We win lots more of those than we lose. And the uglier it is, the better our chances are to win. I mean, there are lots of examples.
Yeah, I knew going into this game that this would be a ugly win if we won it, and an ugly loss if we lost it. I just didn't expect it to be as ugly as it was. I don't think any fan, and I think that's what the fans are written about, because we are promised such a new look offense, and we heard all spring and summer how improved Spencer was going to be, and if anything, it looked like Spencer took a step backwards. I want to show this comment with Casey on here. It says, "I give the South Dakota State some credit where they were number 4. I think what he meant is they were number 4 in the FCS." Yeah, Casey, that's what I was trying to do with my question earlier. Are we giving South Dakota State some credit, and maybe we'll give them more credit after we go a few weeks down the road and see where things are at? That's exactly what I was trying to ask earlier. And I think, I don't know if he's a South Dakota State fan or if he's just a realistic Hawkeye fan. We love the realistic Hawkeye fans, but we also like the ones that go off the deep end too.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it that South Dakota State is a fantastic football program. They're a good team. Like, and so the fact that they were in that game, like, and hung around, like, I would have been shocked otherwise. Honestly, like, the spread was, I think it closed at 10.5.
Yeah.
Honestly, I thought that was a high number, because I figured it'd be about a 6-7 point ball game. So that's a good football program. We just have a good defense, and credit to them too. Like, I mean, they didn't let us score. So that's a good defense, and we had a good defense, and and that was a Midwest battle, if you will. So
yeah. Well, I did predict it would be a very tight game. I just thought we both would score a little more points than we did.
The other thing you have to give a shot. I wasn't in the stadium, but boy, it sure looked like the crowd noise. Especially in the north end zone, seemed like it bothered South Dakota State. We got a few motion penalties and so false starts and those sorts of things that helped us out and got us into safety territory. I know the Boo Birds were out, and that's, hey, look, I mean, anybody that doesn't expect that is, I'm sorry, welcome to big time college football. Having said all that, got to give Spencer Petras a little bit of credit. He met with the media. He stood there. He took the questions. He doesn't shy away, and it makes you like that kid. But my goodness,
right.
I mean, if there's a kid that deserves to play better, I mean, it's probably him. Nobody probably works harder and cares more than that guy. And so I feel bad, but holy cow, you gotta be able to hit screen passes. I mean, it's sort of like, my baseball career ended when I couldn't hit the 95-mile-an-hour fastball. And guess what? I got more 95-mile-an-hour fastballs and I didn't hit them. So, it's just, that's just tough life,
Yeah. I was just gonna on that note. He says that I used to play a lot of adult softball, but it was always slow pitch. And the first time I went into a league, they asked me to join it, and didn't realize I was joining a fast pitch league. I never did hit the ball. After about three games, I just said, "Guys, you're better off without me. I'm never going to get ahead. I'm just a liability."
Yep. I'll just be here making you work hard.
Yeah. So I was just gonna say, so to your comment, Brad, I mean, Spencer, obviously, I saw the interviews, and like, he did own it. He owned the absolute like entirety of him not playing well that day, and so kudos to him for being a professional, for lack of a better term, and being mature about that. But I mean, he's gotta. We gotta figure something out, because you gotta hit those screens. You gotta hit those bubble screens. Like when we run those stupid bubble screens, like, you gotta hit them, like, because it's not that tough. So
here's a question.
Go ahead.
I got a question from one of the people, Brian Brabeck. Okay, can you guys read that? Do you feel like the rest of the offense have faith in our QB? And my answer is yes. Oh, QB7, yeah.
No,
yes.
I think it's meant to reference Petrus's number.
Yeah.
And no, I don't. I mean, I cannot imagine as a college kid, after watching that game or playing in that game and being in trenches, that you would have confidence in him. That's the excuse me. That's the the problem I have, and the worry I have is that the team's going to lose confidence in Petrus.
And I think and perhaps maybe a small example of that even over the summer was, the exodus of a couple of receivers who were saying, they're going to go and look to get 12 catches in a game. And then, candidly, I don't know how you could. Like, if you're running out there and you're running a timing pattern and you expect that ball to be there when you cut, and it's generally not. I mean, it's only there maybe 40% of the time. I just don't know how you can have that much confidence in it. And, and I think every other position on the field, if you don't perform, you're going to watch some football from the sidelines. And this seems to be the exception in Kirk's offense. Now, kind of, I think Ben and Dean, maybe you guys said it, and I certainly was saying over the weekend, like, what's scarier? This is our quarterback, or we don't have a quarterback better than this?
That's what my thought was.
On scholarship. So, that's scary. But if you're on the sidelines, I mean, when you get to that level, you got to believe that you're better than the guy ahead of you, or competitive. And if you're going into every week saying, I got to be prepared just in case, eventually you're going to say, doggone it, I can miss a screen pass by 6 yards. I mean, hell, I could miss. Like today, I could miss. I'm not saying I'm a better quarterback than Petrus, but holy cow, that some of those you just can't. You just can't. That can't happen. Like maybe once in a season, not 4 times in a game.
Right. I just think Spencer just feels like he was feeling the pressure every time, and I think sometimes he forced things that he didn't have to force.
Yep.
And then that time when he could have easily, I mean, when he slid a yard or two short of the goal, not the goal, but the line to gain.
Yep.
Come on, if he stayed on his feet, he easily gets that, and he falls forward. He easily gets that. Why does he slide? I know he wants to protect himself. He doesn't want to get hurt. But what are the odds that he was going to get hurt if he tried to stay on his feet and fall forward a little bit? We'd have got the first down. Instead, I don't know. Maybe he thought we were there when he slid. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he's built like a rushing quarterback. And so, like, Stanley, when Nate would otherwise get those minutes, he would, bowl over people, because, Stanley would get how many goddamn fourth down conversions we get that year, his senior year, because he was just so big and he would just bowl over people.
Yeah.
So I don't think Petrus has that innate ability or just or build, frankly. But more importantly, I just think he is a starting quarterback of this team, and so you can give all the great interviews you want. You can do all of those things, but again, I'll go back to what I said last week. You've been in the program 5 years. You've got to hit those receivers. You got to hit those outs. You got to check out of the right. Check out and check into the right plays going, and it's disappointing because I think he's a good kid, and all accounts he's a good kid, but man, he ain't getting it done.
Yeah,
No.
and hey, what's wrong with maybe sitting out a couple series and watching and taking a look and saying, okay, here's a couple things I can do differently, and maybe take a deep breath. I just don't understand this. Thou shalt never substitute the quarterback.
Yeah, I think
when
if
it's going
anything,
that badly.
yeah, I think if anything shows after yesterday's game, the fact that we didn't give Pistia at least a try, and and Kirk's already said, that Spencer, he has faith in Spencer, and it will be Spencer in this next game, and he got all the confidence in the world, which means he doesn't have confidence in Alex, even though he keeps saying he does, because I think he's saying those so Alex doesn't transfer, but I guarantee this guy's going to be in the transfer portal at the end of the season.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well,
unless, of course,
not?
the Ferences get realistic and say, you know what, Spencer, we had faith in you. We tried. It's just not working. We're going to go with the next man in, and Alex gets his shot.
It kind of reminds me of back, in the days when we had Christensen was the quarterback, and he kind of was, highly touted recruit, had all the pedigree, and he just would go out and just in a mind-boggling way struggle. And it wasn't until we lost, I think it was, I don't remember which game it was, but we struggled in the first couple of games and then finally lost a game. And finally Kirk, put this young kid named Stanzi in, and he just came out and, without any sort of explanation, he came out and just started winging it. And next thing you know, you had a guy that was, could look really bad at times and shake it off and just look all world,
Yeah. And into that faith that you're saying, I think sometimes we're loyal to what we perceive as our number one quarterback too much, because we also have that same controversy with Rudock and CJ Beathard.
Yeah.
CJ Beathard actually was the better quarterback, but he had to practically threaten transferring. And I think the guys knew that CJ Beathard was the best quarterback on the team, but they were trying to be loyal to Rudock. And so I think they finally just made the decision to say, hey, we're going to go with CJ. And that's what caused Rudock to leave. But that's just another example of him making the wrong decision, because whether out of loyalty or not, but when they have made the tough decision to switch quarterbacks, it has positive results.
Yeah, there are examples, yes. And last year Padilla didn't really just set the world on fire. But it was a change of pace, and he's more athletic, so if he needs to get away, that's certainly a tool that he has that clearly, I was kind of hoping, back to the play you were referencing, Dean, I was kind of hoping that, Petrus would make an effort toward the first down. That's kind of reminded me of John Elway going helicopter spin down by the end zone, despite not being a terribly effective runner. Sometimes you just have to lower the head, even though that's not your game,
Right.
And that would have been a time and place where, you probably could have made a little different effort.
Yeah, I think he's got a little Kirk mentality into him. Don't do anything stupid. Just don't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
And Jason, actually, I didn't put that one up, but Jason did make a reference in the comment section. You guys might be able to see it, where it says Kirk being scared of a turnover. And so, but I like this prediction. Padilla needs to transfer because next year it will be Labus and then Marco's team.
I don't know if Labus plays. I've heard, I know enough that I'm not sure he's grasping the offense. And so
we said that about Deuce last year too, and Deuce took off. Do you really? But he's on the scout team, right? Labus this year.
Labus is third team, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
So running the scout team. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's running the scout team. So he's not expected to learn the Iowa offense this year, although I heard that they are trying to work with him to get him prepared because they didn't want another deuce situation on their hand. That Brian Ferentz actually addressed us in an interview during the summer that they're trying to get Labus up to speed as quickly as they can.
I think Deuce wasn't going to play number one for a minute, like just because of they had other quarterbacks ahead of them that get that grasp the offense better. But two, obviously that throwaway comment that Kirk made in that interview was probably why Deuce left, right? Like that stupid if we had like before the bowl game, if we had to go to third string or whatever he said, I think that probably was why Deuce left, as I understand it. Number one. Number two, I think Labus is I think he's a talented athlete. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's probably going to ever start at Iowa quarterback, honestly, from what I know, kind of behind the scenes. So
you're saying Labus won't never start as quarterback?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
So we got this guy named Marcos coming in next year, and Carson May is actually on the team right now, on the scout team, according to Jason. And I'll take Jason's word for it because I haven't heard anything about Carson May. Does Carson May ever get a good look over these guys next year?
I mean, maybe, yeah.
Because May will have 1 year under his belt when he comes up, and there's been precedents set where we've made the freshman quarterback be the number 2 quarterback, and Drew Tate being that guy. And
Stanley
I remember
was.
Stanley was too.
Yep.
Yeah, but there's not many Drew Tates and too many Nate Stanleys and too many Ricky Stanleys that come through the program. So
yeah, that's right.
No,
that's right.
The one thing they were able to do with Drew Tate was move the pocket a lot with him and stuff because they had to that year because we didn't have any running backs. I think we had the 6th team running back out there trying to make yardage for us, and that was an awful year for rushing, and so they had to move Drew Tate out of the pocket. And see, that just proves that Kirk's teams are able to make adjustments, based on the talent they have or don't have. So why is it all of a sudden in the later years we're still running the same stuff, even though some of the guys we've got aren't there, or the guys that we do have there aren't capable of running that stuff?
Well, I think there's you got all the tangible, measurable attributes of a college quarterback. Big arm, Petrus checks all those boxes. He's tall. He can stand there and flat-footed and throw the ball 75 yards in the air. He can make all the throws, in practice. What it's hard to simulate, I think, which is, when the people we mentioned, Stanzi and those guys, that ability to scramble and avoid a rush and yet keep your eyes downfield and looking for the open receiver and hitting them on the run. I think some of that is just when the bullets start flying, some people are calm and cool and just don't sweat it. And some people just start gripping. And I think of Jake Christensen. I think Petrus is that way. When the rush starts coming in, and even before it hits him, not that he's not willing to take a hit or anything, but it just freezes him up. And next thing you know, you get a 10-yard overthrow, or trying to hit a receiver 6 yards down the field, but you throw it, 2 yards short, and it's just, and not hitting people in stride. There's a couple pass plays, he hit Arlen Bruce over the middle on the play, and we get, as we were on that longer drive, and that thing was just a rope and a strike. Right on the money. And then 2 plays later, you see a screen pass, sails over the head 4 yards. It's just mind numbing.
Right. It's just, I forgot where my thought process was going on this, but I get jealous when we play other teams and we'll have them in a 3rd and long or a 4th and, 4th down situation where they decide to go for it. And the quarterback, we got him to dead to rights. We're losing grip on him, but he's still scrambling around all over the field. But the whole time he's keeping his eyes downfield, and he finds the receiver, lofts it, guy catches it, gets himself out of trouble, doesn't get sacked. Why can't our quarterbacks have never done that since the days of Brad Banks?
Drew Tate did it, and to your point, we
Yeah.
won a Big Ten championship with him doing it. So,
Right.
I mean, guess what happens when you get a guy like that? That is just a special talent.
And Stanzi did a little bit too.
Stanzi did too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gunslingers. You got to have a little gunslinger in you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just don't understand why he can't do that. Is he that slow that he just like panics when they start coming after him, so he folds up like a little baby in a cradle and falls down and make it easy for the sack?
Petrus?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he's a runner by any sense of the word. So
definitely not a runner.
Yeah.
I mean, the way the NFL's changing, he's not going to make the NFL if he doesn't change his ways.
No,
I don't think Petrus is probably going to the NFL. Period.
It's the pucker factor. If you get the rush on you and the pucker factor is too high, you just there's no hope for it. I mean that's when you despite all the preparation and everything, that's why you sail a 3-yard pass 6 yards over your receiver. So
yeah,
and I can speak to that from experience too. So
yeah, it seems like this has been mainly about Stanzi and not Stanzi, but Spencer and I think he deserves a good portion of the credit for that lack of offense. But at the same time, why weren't we running the ball more? Did you see how easy LaShawn Williams was getting yards later in the game?
Yeah.
Were we wearing down the defense? Is that what happened? Is that why he was making those yards and those great runs at the end of the game?
And on the edge, he was hitting the edge, and they were not setting an edge and keeping leverage, and so we were getting things to the outside. And I just don't know why we didn't continue to run some of that. Just if nothing else, to get guys to slow down a little bit from collapsing on the edges, because they were coming hard right up the middle and just making the center and the guards pay for it. Pay for being relatively new, and they had a great middle linebacker. That kid, Iowa would be lucky to have a kid like that, and most teams in the Big Ten would be lucky to have that guy. A lot of Big Ten teams probably kicking themselves for not recruiting the kid.
Yeah. Are you guys surprised that we didn't see more of Caleb Johnson run? I mean, he ran the ball 4 times for 0 yards.
Not really. I think the biggest thing with him is pass protection. And making sure that he knows which blocks to pick up and when to pick it up. And I think that's probably one of the hardest things for young running backs to learn. And if they don't know it and you only bring them in to run the ball, the opposing defenses will figure that out real quick.
I was gonna say exactly the opposite. With Gavin out, I figured he might get some more carries. So but maybe obviously I'm not at practice. I'm not as watching that stuff. So I mean, LaShawn looked stellar, I think. But when you're getting all the carries, that's that's a benefit and a problem, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
did Kirk address in his interview yesterday of how long he thinks Gavin and KJ will be out? I mean, because these were guys that were penciled in as starters in the 2 deep earlier in the week, and by the time we get to the game, neither one are available. So are they minor injuries that these guys will be back soon? I don't know. I didn't know if any reporter actually asked that question during his press conference after the game.
I think they did, and I think he kind of gave him the standard Kirk no answer.
Okay.
We'll see how they practice this week. You got to practice play, and they're a little dinged up, and they have a shot, and you walk away saying, oh, "Wait a minute, I could have filled in those blanks. I knew exactly what he's going to say. I don't know what he means, but
Keegan Johnson, I mean, he said that earlier in his press conference earlier in the week, and I think at that point everybody knew he wasn't playing. He goes, "Oh yeah, he has a chance. We'll see how it goes." And that's Kirk's standard answer for he's not playing.
Well, I think you clearly saw Kirk isn't the guy that sits down and fills out the 2 deeps.
Yeah,
and he doesn't really even feel like he owes us a 2 deep explanation. So, and you know what? God bless him. I mean, that I frankly, whether he's going to make a change or is willing to give Padilla a few snaps and a series here or there, he probably isn't going to tell us all week, and he probably isn't going to telegraph that to Iowa State anytime soon. So I'm just fine with that.
Jason apparently has some inside information. Gavin's mom told him that he will be fine. It's his ankle.
Yeah,
that'd be better.
Yeah, I mean, ankle is how much pain can you put up with?
The bigger one is defensively with Jacobs, being out. And how long is he going to be out? That's what worries me more than anything.
You need to find out because he left in the middle of the game, I believe.
Kirk said in his post game that it looked like it was soft tissue, not a joint issue, and he said that was a good thing.
That would be a good thing. So basically, it's a bruise.
Yeah.
If he can handle the pain and stuff, then he'll be back out this week.
Yeah.
I think John Cooper could probably fill his spot if necessary. But yeah, losing Justin, that'd be bad news. I agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we got to look at something different next week. I mean, honestly, like I just don't think we can let this. And I am the most optimistic Iowa fan ever. Like, I just don't think we can let Petrus go down the track and just get off the rails, so to speak. We got to control that offense, and if we don't score, a couple quick scores, a couple touchdowns against Iowa State's going to be bad, man. Like, they lost Brock Purdy, they lost their top running back, they lost their top receiver. Like, we should go in they're coming to Kinnick. We should donkey stomp them. And if we get a couple scores, if we're not by a couple scores, in the first quarter, then I think we gotta try something new because,
So we've spent a lot of time, and justifiably so, bagging on Petrus, but think about his record. Never lost to Iowa State. He's never lost to Nebraska. He's beaten Michigan 1 out of 2 times, I think, in his 3 years. He actually
don't forget he's undefeated against Minnesota too.
Undefeated against Minnesota. I mean, I get why they like him. I just can't. I'm struggle with the not hitting a screen receiver, but
and he's 1-1 against Wisconsin.
Yeah, so there are a lot of Iowa quarterbacks that we sit here and would brag about that don't have any one of those things, much less all of them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. The poor guy. This has been roast Spencer hour, and
yeah.
I'm feeling a little better after doing this. I feel like we've talked it through a little bit, but kind of help. You guys got me.
This is
thinking
therapy.
That we could possibly makes me feel like we could still win this game next Saturday.
My wife goes shopping when Nebraska stinks up the joint. I actually talk it out. So in some ways, this is healthier. It's certainly cheaper for us to talk it out rather than my wife's retail therapy when Nebraska doesn't play well.
Did Nebraska win their game the other day?
They did. They played North Dakota, and they made it look a little more lopsided than it was. It was close midway through late in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Against a North Dakota team that's not as good as the South Dakota State. Now, I don't want to get in comparing, non-common opponents, and because we certainly didn't impress anybody yesterday, but Nebraska's got work to do, and it starts with their lines.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I knew that game was close for a while with North Dakota, but it seemed like Nebraska started to pull away at the end. I couldn't remember.
Yep, they did.
It was 17s in the third quarter, and then I think the final score is 38-17, I think.
Which you would expect a Nebraska team to do over a North Dakota team.
Right, and Memorial Stadium especially, right, yeah.
Yep.
But they weren't otherwise controlling that game. So.
And Ohio State beat Notre Dame, correct?
Yep. Ugly game, too.
21-10, but not by 17.5 points. So whoever is watching, they should take it in the lock of the week.
That was the Ben Maxwell lock of the week.
Lock of the week. Little Bo Peeps lock of the week, if you will.
Yeah. Well, didn't I say take Notre Dame in the points or Ohio State in the points?
No, I said take Notre Dame because they were getting 17.5.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I said that to me that was a lock too. So whoever bet on Notre Dame came away a victor.
That's correct.
Who's your lock of the week this week, Ben? You got one for us yet, or is it you still checking that out?
You know what? I think I saw Iowa today at 5.5.
Yeah.
I'll take the Hawks, honestly. I'm not being a homer, but I think I'm being a homer a little bit, but I think Kirk dials it up and we unleash the offense, and I think I honestly think we win by 20.
See, most people say that's a 2 field goal favor. I call that a 3 safety favor. You know?
Exactly.
Maybe we will. If Troy could do what he did against Iowa State and keep Iowa State pinned, maybe we got a chance. Although I think Iowa State's probably a little better than North Dakota State, maybe or not.
I don't know. I think South Dakota State would beat a lot of teams, especially early. Now, the one thing you saw with an FCS team is that 20 fewer scholarships. That difference between the two levels.
They're not as deep. They're not
as deep, and they had a lot of guys get dinged up in the game. You saw that, and it changed. I think it probably changed their game plan. Certainly with their quarterback getting dinged up for a while.
Well, they're tight end. That Kraft kid got knocked out too. So
yep.
Yeah, I think it was that cramps mainly. Those guys going down because they seemed like they were losing somebody every play there for a while. I didn't know if it was cramps. They were cramping up because of the heat or what the deal was.
Yeah, I think some of them may have been, but I think there were a couple that were a little more real injury type things.
Well, so Jason's going to bet the farm on Iowa State.
I see that. I respectfully disagree.
But if Iowa wins by the margin they're predicted to, then I guess he walks away a winner. Iowa wins and he wins.
I don't see Iowa State they're just. I don't even know who started quarterback. I think it's a freshman. I think it's
his name is like Hunter Decker, and he's not a freshman.
What year is
he? I think he's a sophomore.
Okay.
He did play some last year in mop-up duty.
Yeah. So,
as far as I know, this Friday with the other two guys, Paul and Jason on our show, we're going to have an Iowa State graduate on with us. He's going to talk about the Iowa State side of things, and I thought that would be kind of cool to get somebody who knows a little more about Iowa State than the rest of us Iowa fans do, to have him on here and talk a little bit about what he sees. And he was at the game this Saturday, and so that's going to be interesting to get a little insight on what he sees and things as far as Iowa State this year and what he feels his initial reaction is.
If you know something about Iowa State, he doesn't know much about football. Then I'll just throw it out there. Sorry about that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, I don't want you bagging on this guy because I've known this guy for 40 plus years, and he was a sports editor both at the Ames Tribune and Waterloo Courier. He knows his stuff. He knows his stuff. I respect his opinions.
Yeah, no, I'm just, hey, we gotta do a little ribbing of Iowa State. It's interstate. The funny thing is, this is something Ben and I live in Omaha. The folks in Omaha don't understand these interstate rivalries. I always get how can you not be a Nebraska fan? You live in Nebraska. I'm like, well, I grew up in Iowa. There are two teams in Iowa. You got to pick one, and so you didn't. It just doesn't follow state lines, and so. These rivalries are special, and it's hopefully always good-natured ribbing. We've certainly over the years gotten poked in the nose as much as we've poked back. So
no, and that's true. I'm all for good-natured ribbing. I don't mind good-natured ribbing. I don't like to get into these knockout, drag-out wars against each other because that's just silly. I root for Iowa State whenever they're not playing for Iowa. I root for UNI whenever they're not playing for Iowa. But I'll root for UNI over Iowa State every time.
Brad's a UNI graduate undergrad, so he's definitely UNI. So that's good. But
when I married my wife, she was a UNI student. We lived on campus in the married student housing. You probably guys remember that from the old days.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe it was gone by the time you guys got, or by the time Brad got there. But we lived there, and I went to a lot. I spent a lot of time on campus doing workouts because I had a friend who had inside, and we could get into the weight rooms and stuff. So we'd go into the weight rooms, and run the steps inside the dome and went to several games at UNI. And so I still have a special place for UNI, even though I'm Iowa first, UNI second, and Iowa State third. But I do wish every one of them the best. I don't wish any ill will on Iowa State. And I would love for, the only loss for Iowa State every year to be to Iowa.
Well, as luck would have it, yes, I am a UNI grad. I played baseball up there. I didn't play very well. I didn't play very much. I practiced a lot. But ever since they got rid of the baseball program, I'm not a UNI fan. And so I will root for anybody over UNI at this point in my life. And so
because they got rid of
they got rid of the baseball program. And so I'm my teammates and, we still get together and joke around about it. I'm an Iowa fan. If UNI and Iowa State play, boy, it pains me, but I think I'd root for Iowa State.
Right. I think UNI is more focused on their football, wrestling, and their men's basketball program. I don't hear much else coming out of the UNI as being really good.
Dean, I will root against Iowa State until I can't. But for UNI, funny story. So I got my oldest daughter is a pretty good softball player, and she's gonna get a chance to go play some college softball, and Iowa State got a hold of her today. Iowa hasn't got a hold of her yet. So if you're the Iowa softball coach, and you're watching, which I doubt you are, but if you were, please contact her.
But wait a minute, is Iowa State the better program than Iowa in softball? Probably. Doesn't Iowa women's softball struggle a little bit?
I don't think Iowa softball team is the best. Yes, no.
I'm just waiting to see Ben wearing an Iowa State shirt.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Be awesome.
Is she considering it, or did she consider it, or did knowing how you feel that she just kind of rub it in on you?
The coaches reached out to her today because we're kind of in the infancy of this thing. But yeah, it's kind of cool. But I was God damn it! Really, this is why. If we're having very, very first world problems, this is awesome, and my daughter's getting this opportunity. But then it's Iowa State, Iowa, but anyhow. So,
well, hey, look, she could go play 4 years at Iowa State and then go get a college degree at Iowa.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And we go to Visha then, Brad. We go to Visha.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
What's in it for us?
Yeah.
Whatever, guys. Whatever, guys. I think we've pretty much said everything we're going to say. We're really starting to get off the beaten path, which is fine. I don't care. I love it. But I think maybe we should put this one to bed, and because I've said all I want to say right now. How about you guys? Anything you want to say in closing?
Brad?
No, I'm just reading Brian Brabeck's comment saying, hey, look, one thing we can all agree is enjoying the dumpster fire down in Lincoln, Nebraska right now with their program. So that is, nothing unites people like a common enemy. So
yeah, that's one thing I say. I'm not rooting for Nebraska. They can lose every game as far as I'm concerned because they're owed for the way they beat people over the years and the way the fans are still living in the 90s. Have they not come back into the 2000s yet and realized that the 90s don't exist anymore?
No,
exactly right. No, they haven't. No, they have not.
Yeah, that probably ain't gonna happen for another 20 years, Dean. So
the sad thing is if Bo Pelini was still the coach of that team, they may have had a couple of national. I'm not saying national championship teams, but teams that would actually have threatened, be in the mix. Yeah. Because Bo Pelini's teams were pretty good. I think he averaged 9-3 while he was there, and had a West Division title one year while he was there. Yeah, well, it wasn't called the West then. It was whatever it was called, Leaders and Lenders or whatever. But he won.
Wisconsin beat him in the
championship. Yeah. I believe it was pretty easily. Wisconsin won, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it was a 60-pointer. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the the beginning of the end. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, guys, let's get out of here.
All right, Dean, what's your take for this week? What's your prediction? Hawks.
I'm actually picking Iowa State.
What?
Yes, until Iowa proves that they can get more offense. I think Iowa State gets close enough to get 3 or 4 field goals on us, and we get close enough to get 2 or 3 field goals. So anywhere from like a 12-9 game or 9-6 game. I don't think either team is going to score a touchdown. Iowa hasn't proven to me that they can score a touchdown, and I believe in our defense and our punter enough that Iowa State's not going to score a touchdown either. Of course, have they even scored a touchdown on us recently? There was a time when they were on a streak of not scoring touchdowns against us.
Well, last year was a 3-point game last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian, go.
I say low scoring affair. Iowa 17, Iowa State 13.
I think Iowa breaks out. I think we figured out our shit on offense, and I think we open up the offense. I think it's Iowa 33, Iowa State 10.
I hope you're right.
And I want to qualify mine. I want to qualify my 17 points.
Mm-hmm.
By that, I mean 7 safeties and a field goal.
There you go. There you go. I wonder if Troy keeps putting that way, how many safeties, what the record for safeties are in a season, let alone 2 in one game.
Yeah.
So there's an article today, it said something to the effect of the only program in America that would have a 7-5 score 7 points without a touchdown was Iowa. It was in USA Today. It was I'm like, yes, that's exactly correct.
Yep.
That's us.
Yep. Yeah, we're like the parents of really ugly children. They're pretty to us, I mean, it's a win, doggone it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. It's been good talking to you. I'm glad we did it, and we'll talk to you guys later.
All right, thanks, Steve.
Oh, everybody share this with your friends. Go on YouTube, like the YouTube channel, please. I'm sure these guys are going to get these out to their friends tonight so their friends can see and have a little fun with them. And I will do the same, but we want you guys to do the same too. Please share away. Share away. We had a lot of fun tonight. We had you guys. We thank you for your comments and stuff, and we're glad for your participation. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to get out of here.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go.